Hi guys, so today we're going to be learning about phases of matter. Our specific phase of matter that we're going to be talking about today is a gas. So gases are around us daily. Even if you think you don't know about gases, there's a good chance you probably do. There's gases that we interact with without even knowing about it. There's gases that we use for tools that we don't even realize. So let's get started. We have oxygen first. So oxygen is what we use to breathe. Plants create the oxygen that we breathe. We learn about that during photosynthesis, so that should be something that we're pretty familiar with. We have carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is exhaled from our lungs. That's also what the plants breathe in to create our oxygen. Carbon dioxide is also found in the little fizzy bubbles that are in our soda. Helium is found in balloons, so we know about helium. Helium makes the balloons float. So when we blow up a balloon with our breath, it falls to the ground. But if we blow up a balloon with a helium tank, then the balloon actually will float in the air. And that's because helium as a gas is less dense than our air in the atmosphere. Nitrogen is also found in the air that we breathe. It's also found in our soil. And propane is used to fuel our barbecues. So if you have a barbecue grill, then you have this little propane tank thing down here at the bottom, and it's actually a gas, and it releases the gas through a little tube. And if you ignite it with a lighter or a flame, then it is flammable, and it continues to release the gas, which continues to keep the flame, and that's what we use to cook our hot dogs and hamburgers. So gases have different properties. It has no fixed shape or volume, so it's not going to float around in the air in a little ball. It doesn't stay as the same shape. The particles actually spread out to fill an entire container, unlike liquid, where if you pour it into a cup, it's going to sit at the bottom. If you were to pour a gas into a cup, it would fill up the entire space. Gases are less dense than solids and liquids, and they move freely and they bounce off of each other. So that's how we get particles that are spread out in an area, because they are continually moving and they move pretty quick and they bounce off of each other, and that creates the dispersal, and it's diffused throughout the entire room. So we don't have little pockets of oxygen in a room. We have equal distribution throughout the entire area. That way we don't have to go around looking for oxygen pockets to go breathe. Everything is just spread out evenly for us. Easy to enjoy. So these are the molecule arrangements for the phases of matter. So solids have a fixed shape. They do not move around much. They vibrate, and they're usually in a pretty organized pattern. If you look right here in this photo, you see that there are just lines kind of stacked evenly on top of each other. Now liquids, they are packed closely together. They don't really have the organized pattern or shape. They move around kind of randomly, but they do stick together. So just like if you pour a drink into a glass, it all stays together in a steady stream, but it does move. So they stick together, but they move kind of fluidly, and they continually stick together. Gases are what makes them, these particles are so different than the other two because they aren't stuck together. They move around freely. They are widely separated. They don't stick to each other, and they move pretty quickly, just like we were talking about before. And if you see in this container right here, if we had a lid on it, then it would be evenly dispersed throughout the entire container, and they'd be pretty far apart, just like you see right here. So changes in phases have different names. So the first one we're going to talk about is vaporization. So vaporization is a liquid to a gas. We see that in the water cycle. We also see that if you put a pot of water on a stove and you heat it up until it boils, then you're going to see some smoke coming off of the top of the bubbles, and that's actually water vapor, and it goes into our air, and it creates humidity. So that's actually the process of vaporization being visualized, and that's how you get the liquid to a gas. And then gases can also go back to a liquid, and that's called condensation. A way that we can easily see that is the small water particles that are found around a cup. If you have a really, really cold beverage inside of a cup, then you get these little water droplets are on the outside, and that's condensation. So gases can also change directly into a solid. So from gas to solid, it's going to skip that middle phase. It's less common, and this one's called deposition. So it doesn't go from gas, liquid to solid like it would typically. It just goes straight from gas to solid. And then the opposite can also happen, and that's called sublimation. So sublimation is a little bit more common, and there's a easy way that we can see this if you've ever seen dry ice. So dry ice comes in blocks, just like an ice cube kind of, and then when it gets exposed to the air, it creates sort of a fog, and the fog is used usually for like haunted houses or science projects, and that fog that we see is the gas coming off of that block of dry ice, and that's it moving from solid directly to a gas. And that's the last phase of matter.